afternoon, viewers. Welcome to a special interview session here at the Leadership Podcast Studio. And of course, today I have with me a special guest who does not need introduction at all. With me today on this special interview section at the Leadership Podcast Studio is Mr. Omoyele Sowore. Good afternoon, sir.
Thank you.
Welcome to Leadership Podcast Studio.
Thank you for bringing me.
Thank you so much. I don't know if you actually heard me well. I said, you don't need introduction. You have done stuff to the extent you don't need introduction. Are you aware of that?
Well, maybe that's to some people. I still need some introduction, but it's fine.
We shall be talking about the state of the nation with our guest this afternoon. But let me start, Mr. Sowore, on what you're doing now. You are in politics. I know you started with activism, but now you are in politics, and I also aware you combine both. But what motivated you to venture into politics in the first place? And what do you stand to achieve from that?
I think you introduced me as someone who started as activist, and now I'm in politics. As a matter of fact, I just happen not to have participated in partisan politics as in belonging to a political party. But I was involved in politics in the university, and to some extent, or to a large extent, even the politics of university students of our time is purer and better than the one we see now these days, because we actually hold elections, we campaign, we have a manifesto, and every student leader in those days, or aspiring leader, would have to,
ideology.
Yes, you must have a manifesto night where you speak for hours before the election day. And so I have been in politics. I started partisan politics maybe around 2018, in which we started a political party known as the African Action Congress, and then ran for the presidency in 2018, 2019, and subsequently in 2023. What motivated me is exactly what I should have done earlier, which was when I was an activist, fighting to make the country a better country. I shouldn't have abandoned the country for people we label as politicians. It is that you do all this hard work, you build a house, and then you abandon it to people who don't care about the house, and you are wondering why the house collapsed. So that is what politicians do. What we do is to create an egalitarian, a just, fair, prosperous, a peaceful society as activists. That's what we do with our bodies, with our intellect, with our resources, and sometimes with our life and limbs. But there's no way you can do all this and just watch, stand by, and some people will come and destroy it.
Get involved.
That's what got me involved. I used to hate partisan politics. If there's any liberty today that makes me cringe, it's being called a politician. Yes, because I know the connotation to an average mind. When they call you a politician, they're pretty much saying you're a thief, a liar, or a scum of the earth.
Oh, all right. Now let's go back to your activism. Now, a lot of people criticize you for your style of activism. Some call it confrontational. How do you react to this? Are you truly confrontational?
Well, any form of activism that is about resistance against an old order, status quo, against oppression, must carry confrontation with it. Because you cannot just sit and watch people trample on your rights of others, people steal what belongs to the Commonwealth, and then you just watch. So sometimes you have to increase the decibel and the tone of your voice. That is what they call confrontational. So I don't have any regrets that I have to confront my oppressor. I don't have any regret, and it's part of what an activist is.
All right. Is that why you coined the revolution now, mantra, to awaken the youth to take the future into their own hands? But then, are you not worried about the implication of the word revolution? It looks as if you might end up committing felony and treason.
No, we've passed that stage, and that stage was a stage of ignorance, where people thought that if you mention revolution, because those in government don't like the word, you must pay for it. And I was arrested. I was charged for all these offenses. I was charged with a capital offense, treason at the point, and they downgraded it to treasonable felony, which is still life imprisonment. So nothing happened. They couldn't provide a scintilla of evidence to show that I was intent on levying war against the state. I was intent on levying war against oppression. That was what revolution now is about, that this system has to change so that the people can breathe. And whatever it takes to do that, on my end, fortunately or unfortunately, it's peaceful agitation for a revolution where we bring everybody out at once to revolt against the old order. So the reason I said it's past story is because they tried me for 5 years for using the word revolution, and now everybody's using it. Because the day of revolution now, which was August 3rd, that was supposed to be August 5th, 2019, 5 million Nigerians went on Google to search the meaning of the word revolution. I guess they know it now.
So you really awaken people.
Of course.
They're more conscious.
But it's not just awakening them, it's to help them or move them to the barricades to the point that they take back their country.
All right, let's look at the course of today's interview. Now, the state of the nation.
Yes.
Now, vis-a-vis the immediate past governments, at least the three last governments, Muhammadu Buhari, Goodluck Jonathan, Yaradua. I know for sure you were not close to Yaradua, you were not close to Jonathan, you were not close to Buhari. But incidentally, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who is the incumbent president, you were close at the point.
No, I wasn't close to Tinubu. I was not close to
him. Photos during the advocacy for the actualization of the June 12th.
No, I wasn't close to Tinubu.
With the late MK Abiola.
I was with late MK Abiola.
He was with him too.
But we don't have the same connection with Abiola.
Okay.
There were politicians who, I was a student leader who did not even believe in the elections. We did not, the National Association of Nigeria students did not participate in the election because we didn't believe Babangida. And we were right at the end of the day. So when it was after Abiola's election was annulled that we came on board. So if there was any meeting at that time, it would be that they sit on one side and we sit on the other side. And our business with Abiola is very quick. We want you to marshal, the public to confront the military. So whereas they were holding in late night meetings and probably sharing money. No, I wasn't.
All right.
In fact, when I met Abiola, what I said to him that made him accompany me in that photo that had gone viral was because I told him when I saw all of them sitting down, clutching bags of money he gave them, that these people will betray you.
Yeah, for money.
Yes. And that's what they did.
I want to hear your honest assessment of the state of the nation.
So you were mentioning earlier, and I think you didn't land, that you felt like subsequent president.
Yes, I knew you were never close to them. So I thought you
were in fact, the president I could have been closest to was Goodluck Jonathan. Yes, because through a guy who is now late, Oronto Douglas. Oronto Douglas was a very good friend of mine. And in fact, it was Oronto Douglas that first assisted me to travel abroad. First to Belgium and the Netherlands for a country before I then went to the US. So I was a heartbeat away from him. In fact, when we fought Yaradua's cabal to the point that Jonathan became president, when he came to the US, he sent a man in Boro to come and look for me. But before then, he sent Oronto Douglas to ask me to move back to Nigeria and come and work with him. And I told him I cannot fit into the setup that I already saw. So it was one of my best decisions. When he sent in Mandibor, it was to send money to me. I'd never met in Mandibor. I told him I don't need their money because I did not work for him for money.
So how is change possible? How is revolution possible if you don't want to be part of the system?
No. Revolution is about creating a new system, a new order. Yes. Nigeria cannot make progress with this current set of people. What you can only get from time to time is a president that is worse than the last one. That's what can be produced, because this is a cannibalistic system. This system has cannibalized the country. Your economy has been gutted, your schools have been destroyed, your hospitals don't exist anymore, you don't have highways, you don't have security, you have no electricity, you have no water to drink. That system is gutted. Anybody who wants to be part of this system to sustain it is the enemy of our people. That's why I don't participate in their coalitions. They don't invite me there. In all fairness to them, they won't. And I do not invite myself to such conversation, because I know that it's the same old people who are changing clothes and changing location to deceive the people so that they can grab power again and use it for their own self-interest. This is power mongers at work, just using different slangs at different times.
So how do we now hold government accountable? Even the current government has been in the eye of the storm in recent time. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the unilateral decision to suspend an elected governor, appointment of persons with questionable characters, and the rest of them. So policies that.
So, but where do you expect him to get people without questionable character, when he himself is a person of questionable character? I mean, Bola Tinubu.
Oh, that's debatable.
It's not debatable. His antecedents, his records, even internationally, with the drug, the heroin.
The laws in Nigeria have not,
No. You're asking me questions. You're saying that he's appointing, people of questionable character. They're all birds of the same feather.
So how do we hold government accountable in your own estimation?
So the way to hold them accountable is not to plead to how they want to be held to account. The Nigerian people must decide who they are holding to account by electing people they can hold to account. These guys were not democratically elected by the people. So it is difficult and counterintuitive to now demand of the people to hold accountable people who were appointed by judges at the Supreme Court, or people who were assigned votes by INEC officials who didn't win election. So you got it wrong first by not addressing that, and then you want to hold them accountable. They don't belong to you. They are not afraid of you. They have already figured out how to be announced after elections when the selection process is over, not election anymore. So let's be very clear about that. That I'm not in the business of, I'm not in one of the accountability NGOs. No, so.
All right. In 2006, if my memory serves me right, you founded your media organization, Sahara Reporters.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Platform, yes.
Platform, Sahara Reporters. So what also, I know for sure you are not a trained journalist. You are not a trained journalist.
Yes.
You didn't set out to be a journalist. So why did you do that? And how has the platform evolved over time?
So interestingly, what drove me to Sahara Reporters were three things. One was that when I was a student activist, I loved radical journalism.
At the University of Lagos?
Yes. We were close to, unfortunately, Bayo Nanuga.
What's unfortunate about that?
Ojudu.
He's an accomplished journalist.
But what they have turned out to be is what I'm talking. Yes. So Ojudu, Dapo Oloriyomi, who is now at Premium Times. Okay. A bunch of nice guys at the Guardian, Vanguard, Punch newspaper, and they were very radical. Even when the military would close them down, they'll be operating illegally, so to speak, as guerrilla journalists. So I loved that, and that had made me, to be very interested in journalism, even though I studied geography and planning. But I also didn't like the idea that you had to beg them to publish you. In those days, we have to send them and go there and submit and beg. And if you find, sometimes they publish you, sometimes you're on page 3, sometimes they bury you in page 40 after all the obituaries. But second reason was that when I traveled abroad, I was a rabid consumer of news. I wanted news from Nigeria, and then there was a few websites in those days, particularly Nigeria World, and I tried to be writing for them. Those ones too, you have to beg them before you can publish your opinion. And then I reached out to Anikula Pujaman, who was editor of Saturday. I said, how can I want to be writing for the Guardian from abroad. And he was honest, said, look, if you want to be doing radical reporting, you may not have accommodation here. These people are not the type of people who want to do your type of radical reports. So I then sent him an interview I did with Kano, Oji Uzokalu, where he said something about Obasanjo being been a thief. And I saw that they mangled the story together, and then he denies it. And then eventually, I met up with a guy named Jonathan Lindu, and we started the Lindu Report around 2004, 2005. So, but I realized that he also wanted to join the system. So I then founded Sahara Reporters. But I was also taking advantage of what I'd found to be independent media sources that ballooned during the anti-WTO protests in the U.S. when I was in the university. We couldn't find the news of the protests in front of the WTO meeting in Washington, Seattle, U.S. But there were individuals who were reporting real news. So that was why I coined...
Like citizen journalism.
That's why I coined Sahara Reporters citizen journalism. And luckily enough, it was a time that all these governors were buying houses all over the place. US, UK. We're just collecting all that information, publishing, and it turns out to be a blast back home. And that was how Sahara Reporters took off as a citizen reporting platform. As to how it has done, I think it has done very well, considering that it has been around for 19 years. 19? Yes, still doing what it was supposed to do and what it's not supposed to do, which is really or ruffling feathers of powerful people.
Okay, what is supposed to do and what is not supposed to do?
When I say that, I'm just saying that in jest.
Okay.
Because they always tell you, you're not supposed to write against us. That's where you get all the lawsuits from.
That's interesting.
Yes.
Let me ask, are you directly involved now? Given what you
No, my involvement is minimal now. But I'm the founder, so I have not divested as a founder, but I don't run the platform.
Okay, but how do you still remotely ensure standard in terms of credibility, accuracy of report? And this is a two-in-one question.
Yeah.
I don't know if you are aware that at some point people have accused you of weaponizing Sahara Reporters to actually blackmail them. Is that true?
No. You see, people just recklessly use the word blackmail. If you say I'm blackmailing, it means that I said to you, if you don't give me money or influence, I will not do this. There's nothing like that. If there was anything like that, they would have published it. What they call blackmail is when you refuse to back down, yield to their demands. Sometimes monetary demands, threats. That is why I have, as we speak now, 13 lawsuits filed against me at the FCT court alone in Abuja by government officials and politically exposed persons. I've been sued 6 times in the US and won all the cases. So I have criminal defamation cases against me. One was still pending with a senator who's an IPC senator, Ned Nwoko. The IG of police just charged me for criminal libel, cyber crime, 1 month ago. So if I'm blackmailing him, he would have charged me for blackmail, which is even a more severe offense than cyber crime. So they know that I don't do those things, but I have made sure that whomever is handling a bunch of very interesting and powerful and clear-headed young people managing the platform do not reduce the standard. That is the standing order. And you can tell from what Sahara is still doing today that it's still publishing the hardest hitting stories and breaking stories like never before.
It's actually safe to say you have been in the media trenches. So given your experience, how do you now think the media today can ensure transparency and accountability in governance?
The problem with the media is that the media, mainstream, conventional media, with newspapers, people are still publishing hard newspapers. They have a challenge. The challenge is that the media world has moved from journalism to multimedia. So anybody rolling his shirts and sitting down in a newsroom to publish a story that has already been broken is wasting his time. That's why you see all the newspapers in Nigeria, the print newspapers today combined, they are not up to 5, maybe only about 20,000 newspapers are printed daily in Nigeria. In circulation. Yes, it used to be that one newspaper did 1 million, even the days of Daily Times, 500,000 Punch, Vanguard, all of them. I'm sure there was a time you guys were doing, but
it's part of
but
the
it has,
evolution of the
yes,
media
but it
ecosystem.
has evolved now into an ecosystem that you have no control over.
Exactly.
So the days of being the traditional head of media by building an office is no longer even tenable. Now, look at what they're doing. We're doing
We
podcasts
transition
now.
to a multimedia
You know, so
platform.
you are
That's why we're having
multimedia.
this
So,
interview.
and then you have to have digital friends. You have to have different platforms to be able to respond to the times and, you know, the instantaneous nature of news reporting and news breaks. And also to be doing just more than news. This is not news. We're doing podcasting now. Nobody thought podcasts was going to be a big idea some 10 years ago. And now also news reporting or media is no longer static.
Yeah.
You now have people who just sit down in their houses and produce content. And they're also part of the media.
Yeah. So,
And
because of,
so the biggest media company in the world is no longer CNN or New York Times.
delivering news.
It is now Twitter,
Exactly.
Facebook,
Who's just,
probably now
on
TikTok.
the go. On the
Yes,
go.
yes.
So because of our time, I asked you about how the media can show accountability, transparency, and governance, and that's what you started. But because of time, let me still repeat. That's what I wanted to answer specifically.
Yeah.
Against the backdrop that we have unfriendly laws, laws that are against the media, despite the existence of the Freedom of Information Act. So how do you think the media can ensure transparency, hold government officials accountable, and to be support?
The media has to decide to do that.
Okay, it's a decision.
It's a decision individual media platforms have to take. You see, too many of the media platforms are in bed with government, and also people in government are starting to control media. One of the biggest media stations, TV stations in Nigeria is owned by the president. How do you compete with that kind of a platform? And they will have, undue advantage over the rest of you. And then they have the police who arrest people for writing typically what is true. And the media companies are not bonded together to fight these obnoxious laws. Instead, they are more interested in patronage. And that's what got us here. So you have to decide. But I know how difficult it is. You have to choose between profit and pursuing your passion that holds government to account.
The profit is secondary. The primary is serving.
It has become primary now, and service to the people have become secondary.
Are you aware of the motto for Leadership newspaper?
No, I don't.
For God and country.
Well,
so there is no profit anymore.
What happens when God has forsaken your country?
I'm not aware of that. I still wake up, I pray, get answered, and all is well for that.
Well, that's how this place looks like, a God-forsaken place, Nigeria. So change your motto if you can.
So let's talk about, before we go on a break, let's talk about your experiences with arrests and detention. We see your arrests every other day on television, social media, and the rest. Is it beyond the arrest? Do you get abused, tortured, or just about the arrest and detention? That's all. You get fame?
No. Oh. No, it's fame. How do you get fame by getting arrested?
Your name will be mentioned all over the place.
No, it's any form of abrogation of, or a negation of your rights by anybody in position of authority is an abuse. Whether you are stopped illegally on the road and allowed to go, or arrested and taken to, detention and process, as long as you haven't done anything wrong, it's an abuse of your rights. So it is not for fame. It is happening to me because of my conviction. I wasn't looking for fame when I was fighting the military. Fighting against Abacha is not a way to look for fame.
It was a dangerous thing.
Yes. And it's still the same today with fighting these other guys. Because the reason why these other guys are more dangerous is that they've been through all of it. They themselves have fought the military, so they know what the military hated and what they loved. And they are now civilians who have partnered in the past, betrayed the people, and they are now running the country. So they know it all. They know how to kill you silently. They know how to kill you directly. They know how to skin you alive, because they have done all of that before. Where they haven't done it before, they have around as their partners and godfathers and co-conspirators, people who can do it for them. So it's not about looking for fame. It's about looking for a country where things work.
How this affecting you? I know before you will answer, at the time you were cut off from your family for years.
I'm cut off again because they just seized my the IG of police.
So you can't travel.
Just got my my passport. I applied for it. The judge said no, you can't go. You can't leave Nigeria because you can't provide evidence that you live abroad and that you have family. He was even asking me to put down the name of my children and wife.
That you don't have evidence that you live abroad?
No, it's part of what you go through. That's you know, some of these things are ridiculous.
Business-wise.
I'm not a businessman. I'm an activist to a large extent. I have a platform.
You must drink water. You must eat food.
Yes.
So there must be a means of livelihood.
I have means of livelihood. I'm not.
So
I don't rely on.
Are they affected because of all this?
Sometimes they're affected. Sometimes you know I just get by. I don't need a lot, so I don't. I just need enough to keep going. Yeah. Hopefully.
All right, viewers, it's not over yet. Until it's over, we shall be going on a short break. When we come back, we shall continue our discussion with our guest today, Comrade Omoyele Sowore. Don't go away. We'll be back soon.
Get ready for the Leadership Awards and Conference 2024. Join us as we celebrate excellence across various fields, honoring those who've made remarkable impacts. Award categories include Person of the Year, Quinquennial Award for Governance and Infrastructure, Governors of the Year, Business Person of the Year, and many more. Stay updated by following us on social media and visiting our website, leadership.ng. For sponsorship and inquiries, contact us today. Leadership Award and Conference 2024, celebrating excellence, inspiring the future. Get ready for the Leadership Awards and Conference 2024. Join us as we celebrate excellence across various fields, honoring those who've made remarkable impacts. Award categories include Person of the Year, Quinquennial Award for Governance and Infrastructure, Governors of the Year, Business Person of the Year, and many more. Stay updated by following us on social media and visiting our website, leadership.ng. For sponsorship and inquiries, contact us today. Leadership Award and Conference 2024, celebrating excellence, inspiring the future. Get ready for the Leadership Awards and Conference 2024. Join us as we celebrate excellence across various fields, honoring those who've made remarkable impacts. Award categories include Person of the Year, Quinquennial Award for Governance and Infrastructure, Governors of the Year, Business Person of the Year, and many more. Stay updated by following us on social media and visiting our website, leadership.ng. For sponsorship and inquiries, contact us today. Leadership Award and Conference 2024, celebrating excellence, inspiring the future. Be part of our brand. Leadership for God and country. Be part of our brand. Leadership for God and country.
Welcome back. It's still a special interview session with Comrade Omoyele Sowore, former politician and social activist. We've been talking for the past 25 minutes and we're winding up. So stay glued to your screen so that you can enjoy the rest of the conversation. Yeah, we're winding up, sir. And before we go into the other three main issues, let me also ask you something personal. I don't know if you are aware that there are people who have also accused you of doing what you're doing in Nigeria to satisfy certain foreign interests. How true is that?
I mean, which foreign interest is this I'm trying to satisfy?
Foreign interest. It could be Burkina Faso, it could be Sierra Leone, it could be US. Where are your family?
No, I think people say all kinds of things when they run at yes, and I'm used to that. When I was in the university, they were accusing us of working for the government of the USSR. That was when the USSR was in existence.
And
because we have socialist tendencies which emanated from the East, the USSR. We were accused of working for the government of the USSR. And then they moved on and said we were working for Gani Fawemi. And they were accused, they would tell to us that, you see, Gani Fawemi's children are doing well, you people are not doing well. Why are you working for him? Then they would say, you're working for Falana, and then at some point, they accused me of being a court member in the university, and they expelled us severally for different reasons. I was expelled twice. So it has always been like that each time the people you are fighting against to make the country better are not willing to do what is right, and they have no response to you, they say all kinds of things. I've seen some of them on Twitter saying that I work for USAID and all that, or that this is driven by grants. So it comes in different cocktails. But for those of us who do this, we know that it comes with a territory.
Round face.
No, it doesn't bother me.
All right. If you are not bothered with that, are you bothered with recent developments in the polity? For example, before President Bola Tinubu emerged as the president, he had credentials of being a Democrat, giving his participation or involvement in the electoral advocacy for the actualization of June 12. Remember? So people are now wondering that under him, certain anti-democratic things are happening. For example, I mentioned something in passing earlier, the unilateral suspension of an elected governor. What do you have to say about that?
So, what is imagined was the kind of doubt we had when we were in the pro-democracy movement. That it wasn't all of us who were fighting for democracy that really wanted democracy to
somewhere there.
Somewhere there for their own personal interests, for political advancement of their own personal interests. And it's all imagined now. I said it somewhere else, and I'll repeat here that some of them were actually probably just jealous of the military. They wanted them to become people of the military. And that's what you're getting with Tinubu now. Yes, they want to be dictatorial, they want to have access to, they want to fulfill the needs of their cronies, friends, and they want to turn the political seat to a dynasty. So your son, your daughter, everybody's just grabbing what they can. And that was what the Babangida came to do. That was what Babangida was known for. In fact, they used to call him Donatus. In those days, donated to everybody. So, and then he dribbled everybody. They called him Maradona. And at the point, he delivered himself evil genius. So, I think the current people in power, Democrats, and particularly Tinubu, based on his whole activities as president, clearly shows that he should be wearing military uniform instead of pretending that he's a civilian. So specifically, I don't think they were fighting for democracy.
Okay. So
they were fighting to grab power.
The declaration of state of emergency in Rivers. What do you think about that?
No, it was that's why I'm talking about personal interest, because Rivers was just picked out and sacrificed for Wike. And while the rest of you are thinking about what to eat, they are thinking about the 2027 election. And most have been the condition Wike, the FCT minister, gave to Tinubu, said, look, if we are going to win next time, you have to, I've helped you rub your back, you have to rub my back too, which is known as Orobombo.
So let's come to National Assembly.
And I'm not in any way sympathetic towards even the governor himself. Because
why? Don't you think he was cheated out of office?
No, he didn't deserve to be treated the way he was treated, whether he was elected or selected.
Okay.
But, his own antecedents, the enabling of evil. He was Wike's accountant general who was declared wanted for billions of naira that went missing. So they enabled Wike up to this point that he now become a Frankenstein and is destroying all of them. Maybe one day we'll get to Tinubu himself too.
All right, let's talk about the current 20th National Assembly.
Yes.
In the last 1 month, there have been drama almost every week,
yes,
if not every week. Now, we started with an allegation of misconduct against the Kogi Central Senator, now suspended, Natasha Akpoti-Ibuahon. Then, she came up later with allegation of sexual harassment against Senate President Godswill Akpabio. And again, I can't remember all that, but just yesterday, something played out again. There was an attempt to move a motion on the floor of the Senate by Senator Abaride, representing Abia South, for the federal government to immortalize the late Professor Humphrey Nwosu. And it was rejected because they were not, convinced whether Nwosu should be so recognized or not, because according to some, he truncated June 12th. You were part of the June 12th struggle. You should have information. So, National Assembly as a whole, what is your thinking about the current National Assembly?
So, I have a variety of thoughts about the National Assembly. The first one is that we don't need this motley crowd of that we call national. Yes, this bicameral will just be a unit. In fact, before I used
part-time basis.
Before we get to part-time,
okay, the number.
Yes, the number. Before I used to advocate that we should have a House of Rep, but I actually think we will be fine with just the Senate, 109 members, and then we make it a part-time position. If you are going to get the job, you only come and make laws, and you go back. You don't need the Senate President with 63 cars in his convoy. They can carpool. When they come for the work, you just stay in a hotel for a few days or Airbnb. You finish your work, and then you go back. But they will have staff there who help them draft the laws. So them is to come and study it and vote for it. It's representative democracy. It doesn't have to bankrupt the country. That's number one. The second aspect of it is that this is part of the problem, is that when you have a democracy that is run by morons, there's no way morons will not hijack it. Look at people like Akpabio, who are supposed to be in prison. You put them as Senate President, and he's doing what he knows how to do best, which even Atiku testified to, and they are friends before. Then you are complaining that he's harassing. Well, he's been doing it forever. This is how they rose to the top. This is how Tinubu rose to the top. This is how Wike rose to the top. And the country is now in the hands of the three most dangerous politicians almost in the history of this country. People have risen through impunity to the top. I mentioned it earlier. So, and you are now complaining. But there's also a part of me that feels like this is distraction. I think they have figured out how to distract Nigeria every week. So if it's not Natasha, I'm not downplaying Natasha. No, I'm not. I believe that whatever. Yes, I believe that whatever she's complaining about, they probably did more or worse to her or other people. But that's why I don't know why anybody thinks they will give her justice in the same place. And now they've escalated. They're no longer talking about suspending. They're talking about recalling her. Are you getting my point? So, but this part of it is just distraction. Humphrey I was one of the few people that interviewed him before he died. I met him in the U.S. You can search for the interview. And he explained what happened during June 12th. If I were to choose his immortalized, if I were to be part of people to discuss it, I would not allow him to be immortalized because he was a coward. With what he told me in that interview, and after off camera, he regretted that he didn't. He said he could have just announced the results, and yes. And if you can't risk your life, you should not become a national hero. If you can't take risk, because if you had announced the result, it would have been more difficult for Babangida and the rest of them to annul the election, because there would have been a winner declared, and he would have saved the country.
Because even at that point in time, we had government.
I've told you.
Just the workers, they were asked to go back home. So
even Tinubu was a senator during that period.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but I'm telling you my own conditions for immortalization. If I'm president of Nigeria today, most of the streets in Abuja will be renamed. Yes, after villages and towns and ethnic groups in the country. All these Abacha way, Buhari way, all these
No
cowards.
matter what, they pay their
I'll
dues.
remove their names
No
from.
matter what, they pay their
They can
dues.
put their names in front of their family houses. It's not, but they haven't done this country any good. You don't reward people who destroy your country by naming streets
Alright,
after them or immortalizing them.
Let me hear from the horse's mouth whether you'll be running for the presidency in 2027 or not.
My answer is that I never stopped running in the first place. I'm not a politician who runs after a calendar count and it's elections coming and you see them. No, I'm out there fighting for what I believe my conviction. But to be
Whether for political office or otherwise.
yes, it's not driven by calendar. It's not driven by election cycles. So if I'm going to run in 2027, I am going to run first to ensure that those who will make it impossible, we run them out of town, so that we can have a 2027 that we will just be part of the process that will endorse impunity. And so I participated, but deep down in your mind, you know there was no election. So, and you participate and so, yeah, even the radicals participated.
So if you say there was no election, how do we ensure there will be election? Or are we going to put our arms?
No, I'm not.
and continue like
You're
this?
talking to the person who doesn't fold his arms. I'm not going to fold my
You're
arms.
just one person.
There are a lot of people now. Was I the copper who said Tinubu was terrible 2 weeks ago? A female copper.
When you're escorted or
Yes.
you're accompanied to see
So there are a lot.
local government
There's a lot of lions and lionesses out there who are going to be awoken and they are fighting. I'm not the one. Am I the one coordinating the 30 days run challenge? You're right. So don't be surprised. They will be surprised.
And that reminds me, before we go, that copper
Yes.
in Lagos. She about going out or she just started some?
I think it just started, but guess
You
what?
sure she's okay?
That's fine. So far, yeah. So far, nothing has happened. But she has scored her first goal, and this one goal seems like a hat trick. She has already gotten her colleagues to start collecting 77,000 naira, which they had promised since last year but hadn't paid until she started her 30 days
So you
challenge.
believe that payment was a result of her
Of
votes
course,
by calling out the president?
this lady, you see the way they treated her, the way they threatened her, the way they shamed her, you would know that she had impact. Anyway, I felt it, and I was so proud of her that yesterday I wrote on my Instagram page and all my social media handle praising her. I put her picture out there, like, yes, thank you so much for having me as well.
Omoyele Sowore.
Thank
And I
you.
hope that whenever we need you, you can do the job.
Yes,
Don't be alone.
no problem.
Also part of the movement for a better Nigeria.
Everybody should be part of this
So
right
that's
now.
why I drew your attention to the leadership motto for God and country.
Well, keep it going.
Thank you very much, viewers, for being with us from the hours of 10. From the hours of 12 to this moment. I've been speaking with Mr. Omoyele Sowore, politician and activist. We hope you'll be with us again whenever we have another session.
You should call me a journalist too.
Why I remember all the time you say you're not a journalist, you're a media practitioner.
Even if it's a junk journalist.
Many thanks to you, viewers, and from here, it's bye for now. Thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio.